Hello, this is Crypto CJ. Welcome to today's Trade of the Day. Today is the tax edition. That's right. So many of you folks have been asking me, CJ, what do I do about taxes? And I didn't really have a very good answer other than to refer you to my accountant. But I want to do better than that. Let's not only save on our tax obligation. What if there was something that would wipe it out entirely? I mean, I don't want to move to a foreign country or something to get away from capital gains taxes. I want to keep all my profits, and I'm sure you do too. So what if I told you there was a way to do that? If you have a tax liability of $30,000 or more for the 2021 tax year, or you anticipate having that, and I hope you will if you keep watching my show, in 2022 or 2023, you should stay tuned and check this out, because I've got a guest today. It's not just an ordinary guest. It's attorney Frank Seifert. He is very knowledgeable on the kind of trusts that can help crypto traders keep their profits. So with no further ado, welcome Frank Seifert to my show. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your trust.
Well, thank you, CJ. It's a real pleasure to be here, and a whole lot of everybody on this call. I'm honored to be here to share with you a special trust. This is called the GEP, or Global Asset Planning Trust. And let me introduce myself. So as CJ said, I'm an attorney. I was a JAG officer in the Air Force, tried lots of court-martials around the Pacific Rim. After that, I got into a trial practice and then segued into venture capital. In 2015, I bought this trust. Now, I have trust background. I could have written on myself, except for the fact that this trust has been copyrighted. And that was most attractive to me, to say that it met certain legal requirements and were protected under the copyright. So a little background on the trust itself. It was originally drafted in 1970, that's 50 years ago, by a Harvard trust professor who taught trust law. And he retired to Houston. He drafted this trust specifically for large oil and gas companies to protect their land holdings and to avoid taxes. After the professor died, a man named Paul Rosen, who's a practicing attorney in the Houston area, copyrighted this trust. And so Paul Rosen is the attorney of record for the GEP trust.
All right. So regarding tax liability for my audience, crypto traders, I recall checking a box last year on the 2020 form about, the IRS asking me if I had crypto profits. What are they up to this year?
As a matter of fact, their big thing right now is called Operation Hidden Treasure. And they're looking for people who have crypto and haven't been paying the tax on, as well as gold and silver. It involves their criminal investigation department as well as fraud enforcement. So this is a big time deal to them. And I do not recommend that anybody hide crypto, because they can't. But secondly, can you imagine having that crypto as an asset in this trust? There would be no tax liability. And the reality is, at that point, you don't own the crypto anymore. You're off the IRS's screen, both for the statement on the 1040 tax return, but also as far as Operation Hidden Treasure goes. There's one other thing that people may not be aware of, and that there is a provision in the new infrastructure bill that has new reporting requirements for crypto. This is a big deal. So that's the three-pronged approach right now. What you mentioned about the statement on the 1040, plus Operation Hidden Treasure, and now the infrastructure bill.
Yeah, I think that has something to do with crypto exchanges being required to report certain transactions with crypto traders. So, as a freedom-loving American, I think it's my duty to avoid taxes legally, but not to evade, which is illegal. So what's the difference between avoidance and evasion?
Thank you. My favorite topic. This trust will avoid taxes. And by the way, that term is used in the field manual for the IRS agents, that people can legally avoid taxes. And by the way, there is cases that have said you can use any legal means to avoid taxes. And this trust, it meets all the legal requirements that we'll be reviewing. That is contrary to people evading taxes. They owe the money, they don't declare it, so they don't pay the tax. They got a big problem. As a matter of fact, that statement on the 1040, where you answer yes or no, have you had anything to do with crypto over the last year? If somebody has and then answers no to that question, they have just teed themselves up for tax evasion. So that's exactly the purpose of that question. So this trust is the only alternative I know. And as you mentioned earlier, people are leaving the country to hang on to their money. Don't have to do that anymore. When I talk with somebody about this trust, I will take them right through the tax code so they understand the specific provisions that allow for this trust to avoid taxes.
Okay, without going through too much legalese, how is this trust, compliant with the IRS?
Number one, thank you. The Internal Revenue Code, Title 26, Section 643B. And secondly, the Restatement of Trusts. And finally, the premier treatise on trusts is Scott on Trust. And that's what the Harvard trust professor used to come up with 5 specific terms that qualify this trust under the tax code. And by the way, when I talk with people, I will review those 5 terms in detail. The final thing is something that is called a demand note. And that demand note allows people to take money out of the trust tax-free. I'm not going to go any further with it now, but know that that is available.
All right, so there are obvious tax benefits on this. Is it just for crypto?
No, as a matter of fact, all capital assets. So gold, silver, real estate, oil and gas, stocks, bonds, diamonds, all of them. Anything that generates a capital gains tax qualifies under this trust for 0 tax.
Okay, well, how would I set this up to trade crypto? Most of my people are crypto traders, and most of them are thinking, well, shoot, I already took some of my profits in crypto. They're sitting in a stable coin or something like that. But technically, that's still a crypto. How do we get that into the trust?
Yeah, so let's talk about how to set up the trust.
Okay.
Number one, an application is filed. We then get an EIN number for the trust.
What's the EIN number?
Employee identification number.
So the trust has its own IRS number?
That is correct. But what's really interesting, I will explain to your people how their name never appears on anything. I know that privacy is a very big issue with people who hold crypto. There is total privacy with this. Your name will never show up on any documents, and I'll explain how we handle that. Once the EIN number is issued and the trust is set up, the people will get a trust account with one of the large brokerage houses. So all the transactions that take place are automatically in the trust and no tax on each transaction.
All right. So for crypto transactions that have already occurred but haven't been cashed out, would you have to set up some kind of account for the trust on an exchange, maybe like Coinbase or Gemini or something like that?
Yes, you will do that. I want to give people so they kind of have this concept in mind for this. It doesn't matter where your crypto is, doesn't matter where the other assets are. This is an internal transaction where you are selling your assets to the trust. You are the seller, the trust is the buyer. This is an internal transaction. There is no tax consequence from it because you as the owner of the assets are selling them to a structure that you own. Very important, and you'll see how often that comes up to answer the questions about the value of the trust and how it gives the protections.
Okay, I'm looking at my notes. I think we've covered most of what I wanted to. Well, actually, there's one more thing. What kind of expenses are paid by by the trust.
Thank you. So the trust will pay all trust expenses. What could that include? If you put your home in the trust is now obligated to pay the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, all the upkeep on the house, everything. And that includes rental properties also. Huge. Number two, it will pay for your vehicles. That includes cars, motorcycles, boats, planes, everything. Once again, once those are assets of this trust, the trust pays all the expenses on them. And finally, educational expenses for the beneficiaries. Anybody who has children, this trust will pay all the way through advanced degrees. It will pay for tuition, books, housing, a monthly stipend, a car for transportation, across the board. That's even if somebody had a child go to Harvard and get a medical degree, big bucks, and the trust pays it. So what does it mean that the trust pays it? Just so you'll understand. Right now, the expenses that I've named, you're paying for those with after-tax dollars. Let's assume your tax rate is 30%, very conservative. That means you're paying those expenses with 70 cents on the dollar. Because there is no tax in this trust, every expense you pay is with 100 cents on the dollar. Now you begin to see how big this is. And the reality is probably 90% of your expenses will be paid by the trust. And when we talk, I will be happy to review that. One of the goals, by the way, as far as I'm concerned, is to talk with your people so I can explain all these things. This is just, as you know, this is just an introductory video. And that's why I appreciate the opportunity to be with people right now to explain this.
Yeah, I think we both agree. This is it would be impractical to try to explain everything involved with this trust in a YouTube video. So yeah, let's go ahead and wrap this up. What's the next step then? You mentioned something about talking to you, how to, I'd like to be involved, obviously, with my people. I think let's go ahead and maybe have people email me, and we can set something up if they're interested. Does that sound good?
Yes, that's good. I think also it would be good to give credibility to this whole thing is that we give the web address for the Global State of Planning Trust. And the web address is geptrust.com. So once I want people to reply to you, and then we will supply the information that gives a background on the trust, and then I will have a discussion with them to explain more in depth how this trust works and to answer questions at any time.
All right, so here's what I'll do. I'll put my email address in the description below. I'll put the website for the GEP Trust, geptrust.com, which is general information about the trust. I'm also going to set up a Google Drive folder that has the documents that you sent to me, some Forbes articles and some other legal documents.
Yes.
That I actually sent to my CPA to check out, and he thought it was a good idea. So we will have all that information in the description below, and I think that's all we have for now.
Excellent. Just make one comment.
Okay.
I've had people work so hard to find something that was comparable to this trust, and there's nothing else like it. So I'm very proud to offer this, mainly because I own it myself, and people will understand it totally. You don't have to worry about trusting anybody. We'll take you through the law. I'll show you the documentation, and we'll move ahead.
All right, sounds great. So again, if you're interested in meeting with Frank and me about this, please email me at cryptocj13@gmail.com. We will set that up. I'm recording this video on December 10th. We got to get this going fairly soon. Actually, do we have a deadline coming up?
We've set the deadline for December 22nd, and there are reasons why people want to be in touch right away relating to specifically, 2021 taxes.
All right, that makes sense.
Thank you.
Well, Frank, thank you for being a guest on my show. I really appreciate it, and look forward to hearing from you folks about the GEP Trust. Talk soon. Bye.
Perfect. Thank you, CJ.